Welcome to the Token and Hobbs Show on the Roads to Liberty Network.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Token and Hobbs Show on the Roads to Liberty Network, and we have a special guest tonight, Matt Christiansen, famed YouTuber and podcaster, co-host of the Beauty and the Beta podcast. I assume you would be the beta in that case. I assume. I don't think it's ever been made clear.
Reach your own conclusions. Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming out.
So both of us have been big fans of your YouTube channel for a while, and I've been catching up on your podcast recently because for some reason I haven't listened to your podcast and your live shows as much as I watch your YouTube channel. But it's a lot of fun. So we wanted to have you on the channel. Thanks for popping in.
Sure.
I think Hobbs wanted to talk to you about guns because he's a big gun guy.
Oh, cool.
And I know you're a big gun guy too. And Hobbs like, didn't you work on guns in the military, Hobbs? Wasn't that your thing?
Yeah, I was a small arms repairman.
Oh, cool. I'm sure you know much more than I do then.
Yeah, well, right now I'm just working my way up to my machinist degree, and hopefully I'll be able to get back into actually working at a gun factory.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, but so recently we talked about it on Friday. We had Kamala Harris had a bit of a faux pas. She owns a handgun, and somebody at USA Today has decided that is a disqualifying no for a Democratic candidate in current year. So, yeah.
I only saw the headline. I didn't get a chance to actually read the op-ed. So I can assume what it probably says, but what did it say? I mean, what was the reasoning? Just having a gun, period, is a disqualification?
More or less. There was one particular paragraph that rubbed me. Well, the whole thing rubbed me the wrong way, but one particular paragraph where it was just this close to being self-aware at how Animal Farm their positions are, where all animals are equal, just some are more equal than others.
Of course, yeah.
So basically what they were saying was because Kamala Harris was a high-profile prosecutor in a very populated area and her job was putting scumbags in jail, then maybe she could have couched her current ownership of a handgun as, I'm important, so I need a gun to defend myself. But now that I'm not in that position anymore,
what?
I got rid of it.
So it's only for the quote unquote important. That's the conclusion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So us plebs down here and the unwashed mashes need to just go pound sand, I guess. According to the author.
Yeah.
It was a wonderfully named person named Peter Funt. We had
rhymes with. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We had a lot of drunken fun with that unfortunate name. Yeah. So
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Democratic primary coming up because me and Ozzy both have a lot of fun joking about this is the funhouse mirror image of the Republican primary from 4 years ago, where back then you had 1 million Republicans running against each other. This time you have 1 million Democrats running against each other. And it seems to me like almost all of them are trying to out-progressive each other and pull the field as far left as possible. I'm wondering as to your thoughts as to how far you think that will go. Like what's the craziest you think the Democratic field is going to get before this primary is finished?
I don't know. I don't think I would have predicted it as it's gone already. Half the field, if not more, are fully in favor of reparations, or at least studying reparations, whatever that means. We got free college for everybody, eliminating everyone's college debt. Quote unquote Medicare for all is that seems like a litmus test. You have to believe in that to even be considered, it seems. So I don't know that there is a limit to how far they'll go. That said, it does seem that there are some candidates kind of lurking on the sideline, not really jumping all the way in, like your Kirsten Gillibrands, to a certain extent, Pete Butta, whatever his name is, who wouldn't say on the CNN town hall the other night that he supports criminals in jail voting. He actually hit the pause button there and said, that might be a little too far. So I do think there are some candidates. They're a little quieter, and I'm wondering if their strategy is, I'm just gonna wait a little bit and let these people out crazy each other. And then when people start voting, that's when I'll hop in and say, here I am, the moderate to defeat the president. Because Trump is not, Trump has a powerful base, but he's not invulnerable. He's actually a pretty vulnerable candidate. I think he's really vulnerable to someone who just, isn't quite as bombastic as he is, and isn't extreme, like doesn't want to take all your money and thinks maybe you should be able to have a gun.
Like a normal candidate.
Like a normal person. Yeah. But, so the question is, like, the Joe Biden, I think, is very interesting because I think Joe Biden has the power to push back on a lot of these crazies and say, listen, you kooks, we're going to lose if you keep going this way. We got to go back to just a moderate party that your average American can get with, and we'll win. The question is, will he rise to that leadership position, or will he be browbeaten by some of the fringes of the Progressive Party? We'll have to find out, but we're going to watch soon.
Well, that's the thing about it. I think Joe Biden almost has to try to be that moderate voice of reason if he wants any chance of winning. If he tries to go the progressive SJW route, he's gonna lose, because there's an entire field of people with way more they're way more progressive than he is. And so if he tries to out progressive the Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warrens of the world, he's just gonna get bogged down. But as a moderate
intersectional cred, he's a white guy. He's an old white man, the ultimate enemy.
Exactly. Yeah. And at least Bernie Sanders has a history behind him with that. I mean, he had a really successful campaign 4 years ago, whereas Joe Biden, sure, he was a vice president, but he was a very forgettable vice president too. Yeah. So if he tries to run the moderate route, that's almost his only path to the White House, because there's a whole lot of progressives who are going to try to outflank each other to the left. And if he can be just that one guy that holds back and tries to be the normal candidate, then that would be his best chance of winning. I think that's probably why he's ahead in the polls right now.
It's a difficult spot if you're the candidate. If I were advising one of these people strategically, what do you do? Because I do think trying to be a sensible moderate puts you at a disadvantage in the primary season, where, of course, your most rabid progressives are going to be out in full force trying to get their guy or their gal to be the nominee. That said, doing so puts you at a massive disadvantage in the general. And I know most candidates generally take stronger, more partisan positions in the primary and then moderate to the general. But how do you moderate? How do you come back how does Bernie moderate? How is Bernie going to come back from like the Boston bomber should vote, everything should be free, and no guns for anybody? How is that? How do you come back as a moderate from that position? I don't know how it's going to be done.
Well, personally, I think that at the current time, they're just kind of throwing their positions out there and seeing what'll stick, kind of getting their toes in the water. And depending on which way the base goes, I don't think that they're going to end up trying to moderate themselves. I think they're just going to go as full crazy as they can. And we talked about it last Friday, and I think that even the Democrats at this point know that they don't have anybody that can really beat Trump on merit. I mean, the guy gets 96% negative media. So I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to push as far left as they can, shift that Overton window, and then hedge their bets for 2024.
Yeah, that could very well could be the case. But I mean, the thing about it is, like you said, it's too late for some of the more extreme progressive candidates to moderate back and try to come back. Because once you go and say that the Boston bomber should have the right to vote from prison, you're way too extreme for most of the country. And they're just counting on hatred of Donald Trump winning the day at that point.
Well, and that's even the strategy that Joe Biden went with. I wasn't surprised to see him do an announcement video that was like, mostly look how much I hate Trump. That was predictable to me. I guess I'm surprised that he went so hard specifically on Charlottesville. And I know I'm not trying to downplay it. It was an awful incident. I just don't know how much people are going to go to the polls with Charlottesville in mind. Granted, I don't want more Charlottesvilles. I hope there are less for a whole bunch of reasons. But ultimately, I'm going to go vote with my fundamental rights in mind, like my wallet in mind, my right to free speech in mind, my right to defend myself in mind. increasingly, for a lot of people, myself included, some semblance of border security in mind. And I'm not even that hawkish on border issues. I get a lot of criticism for that from some of the fringes of our audience because, yeah, I believe there should be some legal immigration, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you won't get any pushback from our audience for that.
Are you guys not to divert the conversation, but I know that's a big wedge, and I assume you guys are. I'm guessing since you're on the Road to Liberty network or whatever you call it, that you're of a libertarian bend or a pro-liberty bend, right? And
yeah, we're all involved in the Nebraska Libertarian Party to one extent or another.
Okay. So
I would
that's a
describe
big division in the libertarian community, the issue of borders generally.
Yeah.
Generally, like I would describe myself as open immigration, not necessarily open borders, which is a subtle difference, but there is a difference between the two.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say about it. Here's something that's interesting that I haven't seen. You know, I want to know what Obama does in this because he's got his vice president running, and the biggest draw Biden has is that he's the former vice president during the Obama administration. But Obama hasn't come out and really endorsed him at this point. He hasn't endorsed anybody. And there's a lot on the social progressive left right now who are trying to move away from the Obama era and move towards a more leftist, democratic socialism position. You know, they see Obama more as a stopgap as opposed to the final destination.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what Obama does coming up is going to be very important. I don't know if he wants to alienate the more progressive left in the party now.
Well, Biden is saying that he told Obama not to endorse him. That's the line he's going with.
Oh, but, right.
Yeah, the question is, what is Obama's motivation? Is it because he doesn't like Joe Biden? Is it that he just wants to sit this thing out and maybe he doesn't want the embarrassment of like endorsing Biden, having Biden lose, and then having to endorse somebody again or something? I don't know. Truthfully, I don't think it matters all that much. I don't know, to your point, I don't know that a lot of the hardcore progressives really care that much whether Obama endorses their candidate or not. I think some of the he of course is like the former big star of the party, but I think some of that luster is kind of worn off now, as is natural for a lot of incumbents or former presidents. I don't know that, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think Obama pulls a ton of votes to anybody in particular. I just don't think people care that much.
Now, see, here's how I see it. I see if Obama endorses Biden, I don't think that moves the needle in favor of him all that much. But if Obama goes and endorses somebody else, that moves the needle away from Biden because Obama still represents that Obama coalition. I mean, nowadays Obama would be a moderate, even though he's not really by any objective sense a moderate. But I think if he goes and endorses another candidate, that's going to move a lot of voters who might vote for Biden because of his vice presidency. They might shift their support to whoever it was that Obama does support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but right now I don't see very many, if any, other candidates being enough in line with Obama's former policies to really warrant that kind of a support. But then again, on the other hand, like Matt said at the beginning of the show, Biden is old white male, and he has the 93 crime bill speech that would, if you listen to that today and you took Biden's voice out of it, or you just read a transcript of it, he would be just lambasted as an alt-right white supremacist neo-Nazi.
I've not heard it. Like, what was he talking about? Is it racially charged or something?
It is. Let's see. There's one part in there where he was saying things like, "We have to take a look now." I'm paraphrasing. He said something like, "We need to take a look at the tens of thousands of inner city youth that are growing up without parents that'll be the predators of tomorrow," or something like that.
Okay, so it's like implied.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he would be a neo-Nazi white supremacist.
I don't think there's that much controversial about that statement.
There's
if
not.
I could fix one problem in society, they're kind of related. But yeah, keeping families intact is about the most beneficial thing I think you could do above all else. It starts at the family rather than, in politics or something else.
And that just hits at the bedrock issue of just how crazy the left has gone, where a non-controversial statement like that, like what Biden said in 1993, will get you called a Nazi today.
Well, the nuclear family is I mean, it seems like there's a strong element of progressive culture that wants to deconstruct it. I think they don't. I think that I don't know. I often wonder why they seem to have animus towards people who live traditional nuclear family lives. I think it's because maybe it implies like inequality or something, traditional gender roles and things like that. And again, I'm not in favor of forcing people to do things they don't want to do or live lives they don't want to live. But generally speaking, that's the path to happiness for the vast majority of people is to have a good, not just happiness, but prosperity, have a good, stable family with mom and dad who raise their kids. And for some reason that in itself is now viewed as something controversial these days.
Well,
I think that the main reason for that's probably because strong, healthy, close families have traditionally been the bulwark against poverty. I mean, they help each other out. They decrease the need of dependency upon government. And what is it that the left is primarily selling these days? It's dependency on government. It's we're going to give you free stuff. And if you don't need the free stuff that they're offering, that makes you less inclined to fall for their nonsense. Now, here's an interesting question that somebody in the chat asked is, Kobe Algan asked, what would be the most obvious changes that would happen to the U.S. in case Joe Biden wins? It's an interesting question.
I personally am not that afraid of Joe Biden. I don't think that he represents like some existential threat to this country. If he became president, I wouldn't freak out in a mirror image of those people at Trump's inauguration screaming to the sky or something like that. What makes me worry is the degree to which he would accommodate or enable the fringes of the party. And that's what I want to see. Is he going to take a strong leadership role for moderation, or is he going to flog himself as the evil white male that he is and bow at the altar of social justice and take their marching orders? That it's if he takes the marching orders that I have worries about him, but I don't know what he'll do.
Yeah. The thing about Joe Biden is I think he's mostly just a snake that will do anything and say anything to get himself elected. Like the 93 crime bill, that was popular at the time. He said it and made no apologies for it until recently. Now he is going hard in the paint for, like you said, he brought up the Charlottesville thing, even though that's like the only case of violence of, that you can think of right-wing violence. And you can just look at all of the beatings and the pepper sprays and all the other things that the left has done at these violent protests trying to get people shut down. And what did the left run back to? Charlottesville. It's always Charlottesville. This shit happened 2 years ago, and they're still talking about Charlottesville like it was the Battle of Appomattox or something.
He said it was the greatest threat of his lifetime, something to that effect in his announcement video.
Yeah. It's
the
like
guy was born in 1942. Yeah, he's lived through a lot of, frankly, existential threats to this country. And I know he was a child during World War II, but that's certainly greater. But he lived through all the wars since then.
Yeah,
he was an old man when the planes hit the towers.
He lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, to call Charlottesville like some existential threat. I mean, you had an incident where you had a handful of crazed alt-right Nazi dudes confronted with a gigantic mob of protesters, many of whom were open communists. No one seems to condemn them for that.
By the way, in his video, he said they being the alt-right, the Tiki Torch guys, they were met by a group of courageous Americans. So you're ripping Trump for saying very fine people on both sides. Meanwhile, you are calling violent communist thugs, to your point, courageous Americans. No, they're anti-American, and they will punch you for having the wrong ideas. As we witnessed, that's what I've never understood. Again, political violence is bad. The Tiki Torch marching, I would not march in that march. I think that's terrible. But to pretend like it's as simple as good versus evil and it was all one side they're instigating, as though these alt-right guys were just preying upon random passersby. No, watch the footage, man. It was mutually consensual combat. It was just people coming up, talking. I don't know if I can swear on your show. Talking ass to each other and just beating the crap out of each other. You know?
You can swear all you want on this show
Okay.
if you want to.
we typically end up getting drunk and dropping all sorts of F-bombs.
Sure.
I can't drink tonight because I got to go to work here in a half hour at my normie wage slave job.
Oh, do you work overnight or what?
Yeah, and then I go
Wow.
to school in the morning too.
Working hard, dude. Good for
Yeah,
you.
the last 2 years have been a case study in sleep deprivation.
I can't do that stuff, man. I got to have regular sleep and I can get stuff accomplished, but I can't do that sort of thing, man.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
it's been rough. But anyways, back to the point. The thing in Charlottesville that a lot of people seem to just kind of gloss over, whether willfully or because they just haven't heard the side of the stories, is that guy that was in that car that hit that gal,
Mm-hmm.
he was being accosted by one of these communist professors who had a rifle. The guy brandished a rifle at the car, and that's what made him hit the gas.
Yeah, you can watch the footage of them doing all sorts of stuff to that car. Now, I always have to qualify because people want to take this crap out of context. That's not to say that, yes, him driving into the crowd was justified, but watch the longest clips of that footage that you can find, and you can absolutely see these violent thugs. I haven't seen a rifle. I've heard this story, and I've seen that professor confronted. I've not seen footage of the rifle in question. I don't know if you have, but I've definitely seen them beating on the car violently. And it does seem that there's some reason as to why this happened. That's why I was very surprised that he got charged with first-degree murder, premeditated murder.
Yeah,
because I understand this incidentally happening, and it's very bad. To be clear, again, it's very bad. But I don't think I've not seen evidence to my satisfaction that he planned a murder in advance and carried it out. But that's the way the jury went for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm no lawyer or anything, but to me, when somebody says premeditated murder, not only do you have to reach that burden of proof that says that he came there with the intent to kill someone, I would say that you would have to prove that he came there with the intent to kill that person.
Yeah.
To reach the verdict of premeditated murder in first degree. Now, second degree murder, manslaughter, negligent homicide, all of these are no-brainers, but first degree premeditated murder to me was just a bridge too far, and that's when I knew that the whole dog and pony show was a dog and pony show, just a kangaroo court.
I'd like to think that there's evidence that I'm missing because I have not fully researched all of this prosecution, his conviction, all of that. I'd like to think that there's evidence I'm missing as opposed to just pure politics driving this, but I'm not aware of what that evidence is right now. And I'm still surprised by the jury reaching that verdict on that charge.
And the thing about this incident that really annoys me is whenever you confront, like I like to confront radical leftists, let's just communists and Antifa folks on the internet all the time. It drives me. And you point to all these instances of them getting violent, like horrendously violent, starting fires, destroying property, assaulting people who've done nothing, who are just standing there trying to figure out what's going on. And their answer to all of that is, but Antifa has never killed somebody.
It's not for lack of trying, it's incompetence, dude.
Well, yes, I know. That's what I tell them, that the fact that you've never killed someone is not because you've never tried. It's because you suck. Yeah. And that's why you've never actually succeeded. Yeah. It's the same reason communism doesn't work. It's not because you didn't try, it's because you suck and you failed.
Well, it's never been it's never been fully tried. It's never.
I mean, of course. I mean, not everybody.
We're gonna get it done in this country, though. Who's going to be the chosen one? Kamala Harris or Bernie Sanders? Who's going to get it done?
It's going to skip a generation, and AOC is going to be the one that does it.
Well, we don't have a generation. We got 12 years until.
Oh, I forgot. We're all going to be dead by
12 years
then.
for the Green New Deal. Did you guys see the video that she made with The Intercept? That was it was called A Message from the Future, and it was a video of like her future self talking about how she passed the Green New Deal when she was like 30 years old and saved the world from inevitable doom.
Wait, this exists and I haven't seen it.
You got to check it out. It is not only is it absolute silliness because it's a story of like a girl who graduates college, and right out of college she gets a federally guaranteed job by AOC's like National Environmental Corps or something, and her job is destroying oil pipelines and revegetating the land, but they don't know how to do it exactly, so they consult Native Americans who teach them how to plant the plant life and restore the land. So it's not only absolute silliness just from a practical level, like this would never happen, it's pure fantasy, but it's some of the most ridiculous self-congratulating I've ever seen. Like, look at me, I saved the world, I'm such a hero. Wow, you gotta check it out. Are you
sure you weren't on the Onion or the Babylon?
No, it's 100% real. You gotta check it out.
This sounds like 100% satire, and I'm having trouble believing that this is actually a thing.
Google AOC, a message from the future. You will find it. It's 7 minutes long in full.
I saw the I saw a link to it. I didn't want to go watch it because when I saw it, I was at work, and I just
it's comedy.
It seems like the type of just non-self-aware.
Holy shit, this is real.
Yeah, it's very well produced. The art is very cool. It's high production value. There's probably a lot of money put into this. Probably a lot of tax dollars, for all I know. Who knows?
Yeah, she's getting her own Netflix series too, so I'm kind of glad.
Is she actually in it, or is it like reenacting?
I have no idea, and to tell you the truth, I don't think that I have the brain cells to spare to dig into it much further.
I'd be surprised if she wasn't, because if I've compared AOC to Trump many times, because she and Trump are both enormous narcissists. They think very highly of themselves, and I bet she would be damned if she's not in her own special.
At least making a cameo.
Yeah, we'll see. I wonder if she will actually accomplish anything in her congressional tenure, or will she just be like I could see her being a Bernie Sanders, which is just like spouting off about socialism or communism for a long time, but never actually doing anything during that entire time frame. I wonder which direction she'll go.
I certainly hope you're right. I can definitely see her 40 years from now being old and gray and grumpy and disgruntled. We've never tried real socialism.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she'll never get the chance, because not a single Democrat voted for her Green New Deal. So
wasn't that great? I loved all the sound clips of them saying this isn't. They were saying this isn't a real vote because McConnell didn't have like formal debate on the floor. They just called it for a straight vote. But yeah, this isn't a real vote, and for our real communism or whatever, it's hilarious.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it, because they've been touting this thing as the bill that will save the world.
Yeah, and
that's literally the way they were touting this bill, and they were talking it up, saying we need this, we need this, we need this. And Mitch is like, all right, let's vote. And I'm like, whoa, hold up now. You want us to vote?
We've still got 12 years to get this through, guys.
Well, I wonder. I need to remind myself. I'll set a reminder in my phone for January 1st, 2030, to Google what the Green New Deal people are saying now. What will the excuse be in 2030 when the Green New Deal was never passed? Lo and behold, the world is still fine.
Yeah.
What will the excuse be then? I don't know.
I already know what it's going to be, because I've had articles from the 1980s saying the exact same thing. And I've presented those articles to people who are touting the Green New Deal. And what they say is, well, those guys are still right. They just had the dates wrong.
Oh, okay.
And it's the perfect goalpost moving. And it works forever.
I don't even want to give the impression that I have some keen knowledge on the issue of climate science and all that. I don't. For me, it's just a question of, let's even assume that the problem is as dire as it's being presented. Okay, for me, I have a few options. What am I more comfortable allowing human ingenuity and private enterprise and human imagination to solve problems that we've faced, as we've done frequently throughout history? Or am I comfortable turning over the keys to our entire economy to a lady who was a bartender a year or two ago and doesn't know anything about anything? Why is the option like, well, give me full central control of everything, or you're a climate denier? There's got to be some alternative option.
Well, you're not just a climate denier, you're also a racist for saying that.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I think that a lot of people kind of lose out on the argument in this particular debate is they're always saying that if you don't believe in global warming or climate change or whatever the fuck they want to call it these days, then you're a science denier and a climate denier. And okay, so let's say, you know, the climate is changing. Yes, that's a given. The climate has been changing since the beginning of time, you know, before there were cars and SUVs and all, you know, all that other shit. Okay, yes, the climate is changing. The question is mankind the prime mover behind climate change? And if mankind is the prime driver, then what will all of these policies actually accomplish in order to stop that or reverse it? And that is where the wheels kind of fall off of the whole argument, because none of these policies actually do anything. It's just a power grab by the government to try and, I don't know, take what little money that I have left after they're already done raping me. Yeah. And my paycheck. There's actually nothing there. I mean, the argument can be made of incentives. You know, it's like supposedly the same thing with smoking. They increased the taxes on cigarettes in an incentive drive to get people to quit smoking, and that didn't really, you know, a lot fewer people smoke these days. But I don't think it's because of the financial burden. I think it's just because people know now that, hey, smoking fucking kills you. Yeah. I mean, the smokers I know, they're still smoking despite the taxes. I don't personally know a lot of people who were financially dissuaded. Maybe they're out there, but most people is just like, probably get lung cancer and die. I don't really want to do that. Yeah, it's just a game of risks, and you know, if you don't care that you're possibly putting yourself at risk for lung cancer 20, 30 years down the road, then, you know, go ahead and light up. Yeah, you know, people are going to do what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, the way I'm looking at it is, it's the Democrats. They want big government. They want to have control over you. They want to disarm you so that when things get really, really, really bad, once they implement some of these policies, you won't be able to fight them. You'll have a situation such as Venezuela going on your hands.
I haven't been watching. I got some DMs today about what's going on in Venezuela, but apparently I did see an MSNBC clip too that sort of inadvertently admitted, wow, isn't it a shame the Venezuelans aren't armed because they could probably resist Maduro a little bit better if they were. And it's like, well, so you're saying the Second Amendment might have some practical value, are you? MSNBC, go on.
No, that's not what they're saying at all. I mean, they're saying that the citizens shouldn't be able to have alcohol and bottles and rags and lighters so that they couldn't throw those Molotov cocktails at the government's vehicles.
Yeah, everything kind of popped off in Venezuela when I was on my way home from school. So, you know, I got home and ate something and went to bed. But yeah, some of the memes popping up about, you know, armed resistance.
Literal civil war going on over there.
Yeah, really, and that's like that blew up today, basically. That's
today. We've got a guest that we have on quite often who knows libertarians who live in Venezuela, and they're talking to him about protesters and armed soldiers fighting government troops and people being gunned down.
Is the military still Maduro loyal, or is there defection yet?
So here's the thing about the military is Venezuela is literally on the brink of starvation. The average Venezuelan's lost something like 15 to 20 pounds in the last few years. The last people to lose out on resources are always the police and the military, because those are the guys who keep the current government in power. So I don't know if there's major defections going on right now, but I do know that if there are, that's it for Maduro, because those are going to be the last guys to leave him.
Yeah, I saw some pictures a few months ago of Venezuelan police and soldiers that had done, I don't know what it was, if they'd arrested a protest, you know, ring, or, you know, domestic terrorist, you know, air quotes, ring. But they were getting their bonuses for a job well done, and it was literally like a pack of toilet paper. So
should have planned that economy a little better, I guess. So close,
so close. We're only one more try away from utopia, I guess.
All right, Matt. This has been a lot of fun. But you said 30 minutes, and I want to hold us to that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel and your podcast before we call it a night?
Sure. Thanks for hosting me. It was a pleasure. If you're interested in checking out my stuff, it's mattchristiansenmedia.com. My last name's kind of long, but it's Christian like the religion, SEN. You can also find me on Twitter at ML Christiansen. Everything's linked from there as well. Like I said, I got a couple solo videos going up each and every week, and then I do a long form live podcast on YouTube on Sunday nights. That's a couple hours of breaking down all the news and all the current events, and having fun with our audience. So it's always a party. Even though we're up against Game of Thrones still for the next couple weeks, but after that, if you're a Thrones fan, we're still live on Sunday nights 9 Eastern for that show.
I mean, Game of Thrones. I mean,
we've been holding our own though. I literally expected a ghost town. Like I was joking this week for the Battle of Winterfell. To the 2 people who are out there watching, thanks for tuning in. No, our audience has been sticking around, so I'm very proud of that, and it's been cool to see. So then, of course, the first thing I do when the stream is done on Sunday nights is hop off, and I try to avoid any internet spoilers, any tweeting, and I go straight to the couch and watch it.
That's actually what I'm going to go do right after we sign off.
You haven't seen it yet. So you haven't been spoiled yet either?
I've had a couple things spoiled. But I usually, because I don't have HBO Go, I usually have to see it the next day because I stream it after the fact. Because I got to wake up at 4:15 every morning to go to work anyway. So usually I got to watch it the next day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had a couple things spoiled, but nothing that I'm like, oh man, it's ruined.
Basically have to stay off the internet after Sunday at 9 if you don't want to see anything until you watch it. I couldn't believe what I saw on Twitter, man. Everybody, I guess it's such a major cultural event. I probably shouldn't be that mad at people for talking about it. I guess if you care about Thrones, you're watching it at that time. I don't know.
This is why I'm glad every day that I don't do Twitter. Well, anyway, thank you again for coming on. I thought this was a really fun conversation. Remember, everyone, visit our website, roads2liberty.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. This is the Roads to Liberty podcast. Have a good night, everybody. Go watch some Game of Thrones.